We know there are many choices in internet radio, and the staff and host of LA Talk Live would like to thank you for choosing the internet's hottest destination for the most eclectic sound and invigorating talk. This is LA Talk Live. We are more than just talk.
Hello, this is Tika Lark Fleming, and this is the MPC presents the Black Grrrl Show on LA Talk Live for Saturday, March 14th. We have a great guest today, Coney Williams from the world stage, poet, actor. He does all kind of awesome things. But before we talk to Coney, we are going to do the Breaking the Table. All right. This weekend, well, actually, last weekend, we had the Black Grrrl Book Fair, and I'd like to thank everybody for coming out. I'm just so happy for all the support that we got. The Black Grrrl Book Fair happened because we wanted something cool and fun in South Central. That's it. It's not a response to anything, but us wanting to have fun and not having to drive far away. Is it political? Yeah. It was political. All creativity is political. Anytime you wake up and write a poem instead of going to work, it is political. Anytime you choose art over commerce, you're being political. Anytime you take the time to create something outside the status quo, you're being political. Anytime you say no to overtime, no to checking a box, no to giving your government name, you're being political. Anytime you get up and walk away, you're being political. Anytime you figuratively shout in a poem, an essay, a book, a song, a painting, or a sculpture that you exist, you are being political. Anytime you do something that the carefully crafted by wealthy's narrative says you can't do and you do it anyway, you're being political. There are no superior political acts. A poem matters just as much as a vote. Rejecting the system can carry just as much weight as accepting the system. My politics come from the fact that I like humanity. I think people are cool, and I wake up every day and think about what cool thing I can create or build today with other humans. I have never operated on defense. I create from within. I plan from within. I can't create it on my knees because that makes it very hard to pick up a cocktail. My grandfather told me this: there are no rules. Some guy just said something. Ignore that guy. Listen to my grandfather Bob. Ignore that guy. Do what you want. Hope to see you at the Black Grrrl Book Fair in 2016. So we're going to have a short little break. Keep in mind, you can hear us every Saturday at 3 p.m. on Radio Live 360, iTunes R&B, LA Talk Live, and our U.S. Stream channel. So we'll be out in a little more moment. We'll be back with Coney Williams. Hello, we're back. I'm gonna read Coney's bio, even though we don't really need to read his bio in Los Angeles because he's so Coney. Coney is a Los Angeles-based poet, actor, and performance artist originally from Shreveport, Louisiana, where he has worked as a radio personality. He is currently the program director at the famous World Stage. He has published 2 poetry collections, Leaves of Spilled Spirit from an Untamed Poet, and his latest, well, that's actually not his latest. His latest is going to come out on April 1st. His poetry has also been published in various publications and anthologies, including Voices from Leimert Park in America, At the End of the Day, and The Drumming Between Us. So before I ask you about writing, I always ask the person some kind of fun question. So what is your favorite appetizer?
My favorite? That's a good question. I like lettuce wraps a lot.
Lettuce wraps?
Yes.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
Lettuce wraps. Yeah.
Those are actually pretty good. Like yeah. I discovered those in the Vietnamese restaurant when you do the pho and then you wrap like the egg roll type thing. Where they're not actually egg rolls, but they're kind of like lumpia. And you wrap them.
Give me some chicken or something.
Oh, chicken.
some chicken or something.
But yes. Those are great. So how did you we're gonna talk. First half we're gonna talk about you, and then the second half we're gonna talk about Leimert Park and the changes of world stage. But
All
we
right.
want to know like what. How did you get into poetry? Like, how'd that happen?
Wow, poetry. I've been in poetry I feel like I've been doing this all my life. I used to do it when I was a kid, just to kind of function from day to day. To be honest, when I was a kid, I used to just write my streams of consciousness, thoughts, whatever I had when I was young. And by the time I was in high school, I was writing love letters for girls at school. I was the Cyrano de Bergerac, de Bergerac.
Yeah.
I would write love letters for girls to their boyfriends.
Oh, you were. Oh, you would. Okay.
For the girls to their boyfriends.
Okay, so that was kind of like your little thing.
That was like my thing, yeah. And then I
Okay.
just started writing, and I just got into it more and more. But I never really. I just did it. It was just something I did. But once I got to the world stage, a lot of that changed.
Because I hope like before we go on our break, you can give us a little bit of your poetry.
Right.
So what are your inspirations? Like what do you draw from within to do the work? Because you're kind of not depressing. You're not a depressing poet. You're very happy.
Well, I have to be honest. Living.
Yeah.
Living does it. Living is a beautiful thing. I mean, there's so much beauty that to draw from. I mean, I've been very, very fortunate. I mean, I came from Shreveport, as we were saying earlier, one of 11 children, and it was a lot of stuff that was not very cool and stuff growing up. But I've just learned to appreciate every day, breathing, living, the people in my life, and what I have. And there's a lot of inspiration. The Leimert Park, the world stage, Leimert Park had a profound impact upon my life and the way I see things, the way I view things. Social justice, working as a ordained minister in the Church of God in Christ. All of those things had a profound effect upon me, and just to affect the way I view things and the way I view the world. I'm really adamant about embracing living and using my voice and my gifts and my talents to help others. It's really important to me.
Yeah, because I mean I also always say about you that you always think you're in a really super good mood, like all the time. I mean, and I mean you it's weird. A lot of people from LA or who live in LA have a Louisiana background, and I want to know like how'd you come about coming to LA from Shreveport, Louisiana? And I'm trying to pronounce that right, but I keep messing it up.
I came to LA. I was running away from an ex-girlfriend.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
Yeah.
That's the true story.
That's the
I've
true
lied about other things, but the true story, I was running away from an ex-girlfriend.
So you decided to come here.
I said, I'm going to show her.
You're going to show her.
I'm going to show her. Yes.
So you're going to come out here and be a star? Well, what were your plans? I mean, how are you?
I was going to be a songwriter. I was writing poetry, but I started writing songs, what I mean? So I'm going to come out and be a songwriter. I'm going to get into acting, and she'll see that I'm the guy she should be with.
That's actually pretty funny. I mean, it is. I mean,
I've learned to live my truth.
Yeah,
it's my truth. I'm not afraid of it. I'm not afraid of any truth. I'm happy. Yeah.
So you have a new CD or MP3 coming out. I mean, now I'm
Two
confused.
CDs. Two CDs that will be released around April 1st. The first is called, it's a socially conscious CD. It's going to be called Unsettled Water. And the second one is going to be a little bit more romantic type of thing, and that one is going to be called River and Moan. Huh?
What is that? What is that
River and Moan.
So I hope I get to hear a little bit of these poems. You're very popular in the poetry. No, I'm sorry. I'm just kidding. I didn't mean that. but I mean, so I guess these poems are not poems, but these spoken word albums. I mean, why'd you decide to do spoken word instead of an actual book? Like, why'd you decide?
Well, I've done books. I've done 2 books.
Yeah.
And this is something that I've thought about probably for at least 10 years that I wanted to do. And I would meet people and talk about the project, what I wanted to do, and it never just worked out. And it just so happened last year I was at an art show for this young lady, Ashley. I can't think of her last name right now, but she was doing an exhibition of her photography. And I was going, and
Ashley, what is it? Ash Thayer?
Ashley,
No, but I mean, did she go by Ash or no?
I'm not sure.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
But and I was going there to meet someone else there at the art showing, right? Mm-hmm. And this young man sang, and I heard the music, and I said, "Wow, that was really cool." Mm-hmm. And I was talking to my friend, and this guy was saying, he said, "Oh, I made that music." I said, "Wow, man, that's so cool." We start talking, start working together. So we end up recording. I went in just thinking about one project, and we end up finishing with two. So I think it's really, really great. It's got full instruments and music, background vocals, but it's poetry. And I'm not trying to rap. I'm not trying to do any of that. It's just poetry. I mean, me doing my poetry, and I think it's going to be absolutely beautiful.
Well, I think it's really important because I like a lot of times, during political times such as these, or actually every time is political, but it's kind of like during times when we have challenges, people think the only thing we should be doing is talking about being miserable. But I kind of feel like, what's the point of all this marching if we have no happiness and no joy? Like, what are we marching for, right?
I'm always about creating, and when you're doing creating, you're solving problems. Actually, when you're creating, and a lot of those things that you complain about when you're creating, you're finding ways and solutions to actually be able to solve problems and different things that are going on. It may not solve the overall picture, but it can solve some peripheral issues and different things that can add to the betterment of things that are going on. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So the great saying says that what we're supposed to do in this life, we're supposed to leave things more beautiful than the way we found it. And that's my endeavor each and every day. Make things just a little bit more beautiful than the way I found it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I know that the World Stage has a community literature initiative coming up. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
It's actually been going on for the past 2 years. They're in their second year.
Okay.
It's headed up by Professor Hiram Sims. Mm-hmm. And it's a really, really great program where individuals who enroll in a program and finish their program, and this is an arm of the World Stage, this community literary initiative. When they finish their program, they actually get a published book. And we have two different disciplines. One is poetry, and the other one is fiction. They actually get a book from a small press here in Los Angeles.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's an awesome program.
Yeah, I did not even, I guess I did know it existed, but I kind of didn't know, like, that you came out, which small presses are you guys?
They have several ones. I mean, Hiram is the person who runs it for us. I can certainly get that information for you, but it's a great, great program. Hiram is a wonderful, wonderful professor. During the school year, they bring in guest speakers to speak to the students and different things, and they have open readings for them during the school year. So, I think it's a great, great program that we've had. We're in our second year here at the World Stage that they're participating in this program. Classes are held up at USC. Mm-hmm. It's a wonderful program.
So do you think that, I've always felt that the World Stage, owing to all the people who go through there, has never quite gotten the support that it seemed like it should have gotten. I mean, when you compare the people who are, not trying to say that, we should be fighting for crumbs, but how long the World Stage has been around as an institution, it's been around as long as, I know Beyond Baroque, I forgot when Beyond Baroque was founded, but It seems like Beyond Baroque gets a little bit more support, to me. And I've always found that interesting. Like, why do you think that is? Because it seems like to me, it's just race. I could say,
I certainly love the people of Beyond Baroque. I love Richard. I know Richard very, very well. We've had a long stand. Even when Fred Dewey was there, we had a great relationship with Beyond Baroque, and we've done a lot of different programming with them. Mm-hmm. So it's not an either or proposition, and I don't think that because we should be getting something, it should be to the detriment of to Beyond Baroque. Yeah. But I certainly believe that there has not been this kind of support that they've been granted in the fact of them having a building, to be able to do the things that they do, because they have people that have money that were able to lobby for them, and they end up getting that building. They pay like $1 a year for, if we were only paying $1 a month for rent, we'd be able to do a lot of things, even though we're always scratching and clawing to pay, because it's a nonprofit. No one is getting paid. They get paid at Beyond Baroque because they can afford to pay people. Yeah. But if we were only paying $1 per year, I think is what they pay. for their building.
But you guys do a lot of work. It'd be different if, like, you guys weren't, like, to me, the world stage, because, a lot of times people kind of go, oh, in the black community, there are people who are not doing the same work. But the world stage, there's so much, there's something going on every single day. There's something going on right now, right?
We have a drumming workshop. We've over the years, we've had youth programming. We've partnered with different organizations where we've had youth programming during the daytime, after school programs. We don't currently have those now, but we've had those for quite a number of years of our existence. We have a regular drumming workshop on Monday nights. We have a vocal workshop on Tuesday night, our writing workshop on Wednesday. We have a women's drum circle and rites of passage on Thursday. We have a jam session on later Thursday nights, and then they have jazz on the weekends. They have a large band on jazz ensemble on Saturday. It's amazing to think all the things that go on, and that's besides the us just opening our doors to the community for people to come in and practice, work on their craft, and just being a community space where people can come in and be safe, have a safe space to be able to express themselves and work on their crafts and their gifts.
And I think that's one thing that it's like. It seems like when we people, like black people, have arts and have literature and it's like, oh, this is not as important as other. I mean, why? And the world stage is independent, right? It was founded like independently, and it's not part of a bigger organization. That's our institution.
And no one takes any of the money. All of the money that comes in goes to the world stage.
Yeah,
100% of the money that comes in, raised through our workshops, donations, grants, or whatever it may be, it goes to the world stage, to the maintenance and the continuance of the programming that we do there at the world stage. It's not like anyone is getting, money to be able to do that. And I hope that it continues to be there for another 25, 50 years. But I hope that there comes a day where people really learn to appreciate what the world stage has meant to, not just to Leimert, but to Los Angeles and different parts of this country, because the people that have come through the world stage is phenomenal. It's ridiculous.
Well, I remember you came to my newspaper, the Morningside Park Chronicle, because at one point there was some talk about it closing or something like that. I mean,
well, there was some concern about a lot of things were happening in the community, and they're still going on in the community. To be honest. I think there was a lot of frustration with the previous owner, and now we're kind of having the same problem with the current owner, and that is they're just not trying to negotiate or talk to us. They're not trying to kick us out. I do want to say that. They're not trying to tell us that we have to go, but they aren't trying to negotiate and communicate with us in the same way that they're doing with some of the other tenants, which is really kind of a quandary for us, because we have no idea why that is the case, because the world stage has always been a positive influence within the Leimert Park and Los Angeles community.
Before we go on a break, because I want to talk a little bit more about Leimert Park and the changes that are going on, and I can give people a little bit of history and background. But before we go, I want to know if you have any poems in your head that you can actually, before we go on a break. Go ahead.
Before we go to break?
Yeah.
I can do a little something.
Okay, give me a little something so people can know who you are.
Who I is?
Yeah, that's right.
Crescent moons and afterglows hold me captive when your moonlight casts shadows over me. See, girl, you have redefined the skyline of my dreams so that all that towers over me when I cruise your revitalized downtown area, or three-dimensional silhouettes of our embrace engraved upon my bedroom wall. And as scented candles dimly lit with saturated wicks slowly burn throughout the early dark morning hours, and as the midnight breeze rustles trees overhead, girl, I smell your scent. I smell your scent, and my senses are quickened even as you prod them along to till fertile new ground. So go ahead, plant your seed. I will eagerly await your harvest. Speak to me in that voice of forgotten yesterdays, hopeful tomorrows, but always allow me to live within your todays. And when my vision is turned towards heaven, girl, it is your constellation that seeks me out. Therefore, stars of my companion in this place where I stand, I am wondering to myself, how the hell can passion be held aloft in a fashion such as this? For you are the pixies and cherubs of my imagination, even as you distill my reality. So moonlight, shine on me, cast your magic, chant your incantation, for I am your willing subject. And girl, when I sleep, I find that you have walked across my ceiling. So I'm asking you, come down. Angel, come down and stay with me. Crescent moons and afterglows that have been hung on black canvas should be enough to give light to dark cities in Los Angeles. But me, I need a star like you. So when you find the time, just shine on me. Just shine on me.
All right. That was awesome. That was great. We'll be back in a moment.
Reality radio, handcrafted for your listening pleasure. You're tuned in to LA Talk Live, where we're more than just talk.
It started out like a totally normal day.
I love you.
I mean, I guess I was a little sweaty and I was definitely sore. I thought I had gas. Turns out I was having a heart attack. Heart disease is the #1 killer of American women. So now I take care of myself and tell the other women in my life to do the same. Make it your mission to save your life and the lives of the women you love. Find out more from the American Heart Association at goredforwomen.org.
Hey everybody, it's your man Sabir Bey, back on your airwaves, inviting you to join us every Tuesday, 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on the Sabir Bey Show, discussing history, law, and hip-hop. Every Tuesday, 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, the Sabir Bey Show, exclusively on latalklive.com. You also can catch us on iTunes Radio and R&B, Live 365, Radio Flag, and now Stitcher Radio. Or watch us and listen directly at latalklive.com. Reality radio, handcrafted for your listening pleasure. This is LA Talk Live, and we are more than just talk.
I should have stayed at Margie's where the people are friendly, where the music is warm and the beer.
Hello, we're back with MPC Presents the Black Girl Show on LA Talk Live. You can catch us every Saturday at 3 p.m. on LA Talk Live on Radio 365, actually Live 365, iTunes R&B, Ustream TV, and we also have an app, but I forgot the name of it, but I will let you guys know in a little bit. I hope you guys are all having a fabulous time at the LA Writers Conference at Mount St. Mary's. It's the first one that they've ever had under Dr. Anna Thorne. I'm actually really looking forward to the Long Beach Zine Fest that's going to be going on April 12th, and I'll be talking about the small press DIY counterculture panel, which will be very, very entertaining. Now we're back with part 2 of Coney Williams, and we're going to kind of talk about Los Angeles. Black LA is going through a transformation, and I'm not necessarily saying transformation in a good way or bad way. People have decided that Black LA is hot, so they're looking to go to South Central, whether it be Lamar Park, the old East Side, Compton, and they're deciding that some of us have got to go, so because we do not fit into the new LA. I guess we're supposed to all move. Not that the Inland Empire is a horrible place, it's not, but I think that they think that we're all supposed to move far, far away. So you kind of felt, Coney, when the building was getting sold, you're like, when the person who bought it, you thought, oh, I'm being saved now. Like, oh, it's awesome. Did you think that initially?
No.
Oh, you didn't? Oh, you're not like me? You're not like delusional?
No, I didn't know what was going to happen. I just knew that the metro was coming through, people trying to grab up property along that Crenshaw route, you know.
Crenshaws were like pretty much 90% of black people in LA were either raised or lived.
Yeah, you know, it's similar to what I believe is what's happened on Broadway downtown, where Hispanics kept Broadway alive for like a gazillion years. And now a lot of them are getting kicked out of those buildings, you know, because that was the only business in downtown LA for years was Broadway.
And they're saying, "Oh, we're bringing Broadway back." I'm like, "Oh, so."
And it's about kicking.
Do Latinos don't count as people?
So and so, you know, the Crenshaw Corridor or Leimert Park has always been, you know, has been for a substantial time period, probably since the mid '60s or so, a area where there's been a real confluence of black artists coming into that area, and Leimert Park has been that place, and it really kind of found itself in the late '80s, and especially in the early '90s. I mean, Leimert Park really its identity became more concrete, you know, and people were just flocking to that area. And there was a lull, you know, with the economy and all those different things that happened. A lot of people left, got priced out, and couldn't stay. And now that Metro is coming through, everybody know that that's happening. There's been this just power grab and all these different people. And for a long time, we did not know who were the people who bought our buildings. But even though they haven't necessarily come out and told us who they are, it's Lucan's Realty, blah, blah, blah. We kind of know who the people are who own the building. And it's just kind of funny that they won't even talk to us. They won't negotiate with us. They court other tenants. And once again, I'll say no one is trying to kick us out. They're not trying to throw us out.
No, I know what you're saying.
But by the same token,
everybody else got offered leases.
And we're not being offered one. And we've never been offered one. And they've been in that building for they've owned this building for over maybe a year and a half, going on 2 years now, maybe. Yeah.
So you kind of were wondering, like, well, when, or is the world stage viewed as a valuable thing? I mean,
and I certainly think that. And as I was sharing with you before we went on air, I was sharing that we were talking about maybe moving across the street into a space that was much larger. And it was just kind of funny that here we are planning to, after we did negotiations with the owner of that building, blah, 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 and going through all of these different things, we getting ready to move over, that all of a sudden the people who own our building buy that building across the street from us.
And what happened? We were able to move?
And we weren't able to move in because the new owners told the previous one no new tenants.
Yeah.
So we could not move over to the new building. So it's I don't know. I don't know what's going on. I don't know why they won't talk to us. It's not like we are being unreasonable or requesting anything. We're just asking for someone to sit down and talk to us and let us know what's happening and what's going on, and they refuse to do it. So we've not fretted over it, not worried over it. We're still going about doing the things that we do at the world stage, you know, celebrating and black culture and providing services and workshops and different things to the community and a safe space for people. But it does wear on you, you know, in the back of your mind. It's like this thing that's always back there. You don't really know, you know, what's going to happen and what's going on. Why aren't they even talking to us? It just doesn't make any sense to me.
I mean, do you think that Leimert Park, because I remember Damian Goodman was like, we should call Leimert Park like Little Africa. And so that way it's kind of like, you know, people understand what it is and about the culture and about this is where black people are. And so it's like, if they do throw people out, at least they'll know who they threw out.
Right.
I mean,
I'm a big Damian Goodman fan. I'm a big fan of his. The work that he did for the community, I mean, a lot of sacrifices he made were just amazing. I don't know what Leimert Park should be named. I like Leimert Park, whatever the case might be. I think that's something that we should have as part of the initiative that they had in the cultural thing that they're doing through the vision or whatever, and people talk about what it should be called. Okay, I don't have a problem with that. But I do have a problem. I really do have a feeling that they're trying to change. They're not trying to say the gentrification thing, but they're trying to change the culture of the area. In the sense of what goes on, the drumming on Sundays and the dancing and the different things. I think they want a different type of culture. They wouldn't necessarily call it gentrification, but I do believe they want a different clientele in that area.
And yeah, and I think a lot of times people, when they look at gentrification, they think it's always has to do with race, and it doesn't necessarily have to always do with race, because this show is taped in Westchester, and it actually went through gentrification, but it was white people replacing other white people, so people didn't notice. Venice went through gentrification.
Right.
It was white people who are artists being replaced by white people who are professionals.
Right.
And Atwater Village, Silver Lake, they all went through gentrification.
North Hollywood.
Yeah, and but people don't, but when people can only see it if it's a different ethnicity, but they don't understand that this is something that's been happening to lots of communities, and that seems like to me what might be happening in Leimert Park, where because I remember I did go to I went to an event, and the shopkeeper was telling me, well, soon as this train goes by, it's going to be great. We're going to get some security guards and get rid of all these people smoking weed and all these homeless people. And I was kind of shocked because, it was kind of cold. It was kind of like this was not the community.
Right.
And this was like, oh, it's just, this dude's just a bum. I mean.
Right. And well.
And these are black people.
I know. And it just really, really bothers me because it's a reason why the homeless people are just sort of like, kind of like starting to show up in Leimert Park. It's a reason that hospitals, I don't want to get sidetracked, but hospitals are doing that stuff, and people are being thrown out of downtown.
Yes.
Because of what's happening downtown. So the people are having to disperse to some different areas in parts of the city, because the downtown is almost completely imploded with gentrification and being priced out of the market of having affordable housing for anyone downtown. I mean, after a while, there is going to be no more Skid Row on downtown because they're coming from the east and they're coming from the west, and the twain shall meet. Believe me.
And well, the challenge is that downtown LA, or Skid Row, began. They were called Bradley hotels, the SRO, single resident occupancies. They got rid of all the hospitals. Well, Reagan closed the hospitals, and then there was this idea: we'll put all the people who are not very homeless, but very poor, very economically oppressed. We'll put them all in one area and put all the services around the area. But of course, then they cut the funding for all the services. But then they had all the people concentrated in one area. Then LA decided downtown's cool, so we're going to disperse them. So they're dispersing them, people who don't have homes to live, to traditionally older African-American neighborhoods.
Absolutely.
Because they kind of go, well, they're going to die, and their kids aren't going to move back home, so we'll just...
So if they're crunching them out of downtown, they're going to go to other parts of the city. And it's not just Leimert Park that's having a, quote, homeless thing that's going on.
Yeah.
It's happening in Venice. It's happening in Santa Monica. So it's no different. We're no different. The people have to find a way to go. So, but I really do believe the objective is to create a new culture.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Quote, quote.
Yeah. Yeah.
Unquote. A new culture, and I don't think that necessarily looks white per se.
No, it doesn't
Right.
seem to be, and I think that's one thing that kind of tricks people a lot of times in Los
Right.
Angeles, is that we kind of think, well, if the people look like us, then they're actually going to, they care about us. I'm like, if you look at a lot of these, you look in Compton, you look at Leimert, you look at Inglewood, and you look at a lot of these realtors, and who's selling the property, they're us. It's
Right.
us.
Absolutely.
They could have easily, I think about the world stage, and I think about the fact that, Danny Bakewell's son, or actually it's not son, his nephew or something, he was the realtor. I forgot his name on there, but he is one of the realtors that's on a lot of the property. Danny Bakewell, all these people who have this money, they could have been like, hey, the world stage, we're going to give you this building. It's empty. Like, even in Compton, hey, this building is empty. It's been empty for 20 years. Would you like this building? I mean, it really puzzles my mind. It confuses me as to why that has never happened. I mean, do you think anybody proposed? You guys are not going to the right parties?
It's never going to happen. I mean, look what happened downtown just 2 years ago with the BET Awards. Mm-hmm. The BET Awards used to be only on a Sunday, the last Sunday in June. Mm-hmm. Now it's all of a sudden the new cultural Essence West. Mm-hmm. It's a 3-day event now downtown, and BET doesn't have to bring any, even though they're putting this in LA Live, they don't have to contribute anything into the communities. Just spend the money down in that area. Black Entertainment Television, and we know it's owned by Viacom, so I'm not even tripping off any of that type of thing. I'm just saying, but they don't have to come and contribute. They want to steal and bring events down here, black events and blah, 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 but put nothing into these places in parts in the city that continually provide African-American culture on a year-round basis, but they want to have it downtown. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Wesson.
Exactly. We don't have exactly. We don't have things. We don't have things in our community. And then I think about I remember how they did redevelopment, everywhere in District 9. And I remember I was waiting because I was going to move into the Dunbar Hotel when they were gonna fix it up and make it like Artist Lounge, because I was living in that time. I was living at the brewery, and I got on the list for the Dunbar Hotel, and I waited and I waited and I waited. Central Avenue, because that's where like my grandparents and stuff, they were from that area, and I was so excited. I'm like, oh, they're finally going to get to District 9. They're finally going to get to the east side. They're finally going to fix it up and make it look cool. And as soon as they got to Central Avenue, they ran out of money.
Go figure.
And the thing was funny is that I really thought that was happening. I continued to be shocked. I was like, oh man. I was like,
nothing shocks me anymore.
Yeah. And that was Jan Perry. That's why I was like, I'm still mad at Jan Perry behind that. I can't even get over that. Like every time I see her, I'm like, you did nothing for Central Avenue. You didn't even realize what you had when it was there. We had they had the Central Avenue Jazz Festival.
Right.
But they're trying to I hope they don't try to water that down. Oh, let's just call it jazz is too black. Let's just call it the cultural.
Well, that's why I fight for Leimert, because I just think Leimert is just an amazing area. Mm-hmm. It changed my life when I went there, when I met some people from there who invited me to come over and check the area out. And every place in the United States should have a place like Leimert Park. Mm-hmm. New York should have a place like Leimert Park. Chicago, Detroit, St. Louis, New Orleans. They all should have an area like Leimert Park. A place where people can come out and be themselves and express themselves and walk around and see themselves and have a reflection and see positive things going on. Art being, every place needs a place like Leimert Park. It's an amazing area. At least it has been for me and everybody I know who's been associated with Leimert Park.
So what would you do if, say, like you were like king of LA or king of Leimert Park? What would you? What are some things that you would do to kind of like support the community and support the cultural art part? Because I know a lot of people are kind of like thinking about commerce. So what would you do? How do you feel about the closing of the Leimert Park Street? They want to close and make it like 3rd Street, where there's no pedestrian. There's no car traffic and things like that. How do you feel about that kind of stuff?
Well, I think that's a great idea. I think the whole area should be a plaza. I like the idea of making it more of a plaza because I've never liked the idea when we have our big events in that area that cars are still able to come through there and there's so much traffic and different things. It's such a condensed area. So I do like the idea of making it an entire plaza area. Mm-hmm. I would like to see something like that happen. But it would be beautiful. We could get another dance studio, and like Dance Collective when they were in Leimert Park. Oh my God, that was absolutely amazing when Dance Collective was over there. Mm-hmm. Bring in some different galleries, black artists and different things, artists of color. Into the Leimert Park area, get more youth programming going over into the community that we need to have different things like that going on, and get the money coming in so that we can get viable businesses to be able to come in there. They're doing a little bit of that right now with the initiatives and stuff going on. It's just that a few people are controlling who and what and all of that different things like that, as it always is. But those are some of the things that I would do, I would be, have a sign up that would showcase this is Leimert Park, whatever they would want to call the particular area, something that says this is the area, some signage up in the area I think would be really, really good, And there's a lot of other things that I would do. I think we need another blues club. I know we need some more food places, established food places, in the area that could bring in, have our own black wine bar, hookah lounge. Whatever. I'm just saying in the area, in our own area. I'm not necessarily on hookah, but I'm just saying, black businesses that are different, sandwich shop, a black, and wine bar.
Open late.
Right. Places that are open late. But, and you need an anchor restaurant that would do something like that. And from there, you can get more mom and pop, different things going on. But my thing is also about getting youth programming and different things like that. You got all of this stuff going around in the area, and they used to have a lot more in the area, and it would be nice to see a lot of that come back as well.
No, I think about the Marlton Square. Now, you know how Malton Square, which is kind of by the area, it's kind of an abandoned property. The problem with Leimert Park for me that's always been is that Leimert Park has always been very expensive. Even like before this happened, so try to live in Leimert Park, it was expensive. That was like one of the most expensive neighborhoods in South LA to rent an apartment. It was like they wouldn't let anybody in. That's why it's still not a little picky. Boy, first month, last month, who's your mama? All this stuff. I mean, Leimert Park is an expensive place to live. So that also makes it really challenging because there are people who've been there for a long time, but there are people, especially there are people who were living in the jungle.
Right.
Who got apartments. Okay, the history of the jungle, for people who don't know it. The jungle, people hear that, they think it's like a derogatory term. It was not a derogatory term. The jungle was a closed, gated community, and it was beautiful and tropical and lush. They called it the jungle. But the jungle is also the reason that a lot of older black people are afraid to live in gated communities, because the jungle became like this thing where it became very challenging and people began to get murdered there, but it was in a gated community. So everybody's like, oh my God, you live in a gated community and people start killing you in the neighborhood and it's like a private community so the cops can't go in there. So, but, the apartments were super cheap because it's like, it was on rent control. So you got a lot of people who are artists who live in the jungle and they were part of that whole thing, and they were there in these really low-priced apartments, kind of like Santa Monica, and they were the kind of like anchor of Leimert Park and kind of the culture, and But now a lot of those people, they are passing away.
Right.
And the part that has the apartments, the cool apartments, that was also there was always a lot of high turnover because the apartments are very expensive.
Right.
So my idea, going back, my idea was for Malton Square, for them to actually turn it into a kind of an art colony for affordable housing for artists. And
well, Kaiser's going to be there now.
Yeah. Oh, that's Kaiser. Okay. Well, I guess that killed that idea. I had this whole idea. Yeah. So that's not going to happen.
Kaiser's going to be there now. So
Kaiser's going to be there now. So that's not going to happen. So
not going to happen.
Yeah, because I think that's one of the challenges is that where could the artists live in that area, because it's
a lot of them lived in their buildings. A lot of them. I mean,
I know a lot of people live. A lot of people live in their buildings.
A lot of people lived in their buildings and stuff like that. People do what they got to do. I mean, but
everybody lives in their building though. But that's
right.
Everywhere.
It didn't take away from the essence, from the spirit of the place, and that's what made Leimert. So, and what still makes it that for me.
Yeah,
for me.
yeah. I mean, we need a place everywhere in LA, even downtown. We need places for artists to live, because you can't have a culture, you can't have a community if you have no artists. If you have, you can't.
Well, they did create a community downtown for artists, but not for.
There's no. I mean,
not for artists of color. So
there's no artists there really. I mean,
St. Elmo Village was the.
Oh yeah, St. Elmo's Village, and
right.
I mean that was one. That's one. I mean, I always thought I always wish I had known about. Like I lived at the Brewery at one point.
Right.
I live in Inglewood now, but I lived at the Brewery at one point, and I wish I had known about St. Elmo's. I would have probably still been there.
Right.
And because now, I mean, I don't know any real artists. When I was living in the Brewery, they were people who were running businesses out of there. They were creative-like businesses, but there were no artists.
Right.
It was one, Lynn Folks.
Okay.
He was there, but I mean, he's been there for ages. But there was like no new, younger artists. There were like craft people, like making like cool crafts, and design people. But I mean, that's kind of one of the challenges. So I mean, what's your
and that's what I'm doing at the World Stage, really, especially with our writing program at the World Stage, is thinking about the future, thinking about moving forward. So my idea has been to incorporate professors who teach at different schools, bringing in a community literary initiative, have these professors be a part, so we create this link between us and universities, different universities around the city, and people who are doing things. So now, instead of me just hosting everything, I have hosts that are younger professors at different schools. Hiram Sims, Jalandra Davis, and Malika is going to be a part of it. But these are people that are actively teaching at different schools around the city. So we get a new influx of people that will start coming to the World Stage and being a part of what goes on. because of what they're doing, not only teaching, but also doing teaching at their own universities, but also with the Community Literary Initiative as well.
And moving, and maybe people might be moving to the neighborhood too, because we need people to buy houses. We need people to, we need us to be owning stuff. And I think that's one of the challenges, is that a lot of us don't own where we are.
Right. And that's been the thing. And that was a little, I know a lot of people have a lot of different stories and stuff about what goes on, and I've heard a lot of the different stories, but I will say this, bottom line is, when the building went up, it wasn't like it was offered. You know what I mean? So when the people that got it, the last two people got it, it wasn't like it was offered.
For sale. Like, oh, okay, would you like to buy
this?
It
was just sold. It was just sold. And, it wasn't like, oh, it's up for sale. Do you guys want to buy it, or whatever the case might be? No. So
I'm hoping people are watching Leimert Park and watching the world stage and watching you guys' journey and remembering places like Compton and Watts. You could buy in Compton now. You can buy, not you, but I'm just saying there are people who are doing things, who are having ideas. If you're, African American or Latino, and you don't have the kind of money, you can't buy Leimert Park now, because unless you're
Leimert Park is crazy.
It's gone. You're gone. Yeah. It's gone. But you could still buy in Watts. You can still buy in Compton. Even some parts of Inglewood. I saw as a building on Crenshaw, Manchester. The building's $300,000, 1,700 square feet, 2 storefronts, apartment upstairs. That's doable. With if 300,000, that's doable. But if you wait. We can always start a new black community in the Inland Empire.
I think there's several of those already.
Oh yeah, that's true. They have the Inland Weekly. Yeah, that'll be the new hot spot. Exactly. There are several of them already. But before we end, I want you to give us. Can you give us one more poem before we end?
Okay, I can do a little something.
Okay. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay.
This poem is for a man named Harvey Jackson, who lost his wife in Hurricane Katrina. I'm not doing good. Houston just split in half, and I'm up to my waist in kids and grandkids. Give me a minute or two. It's hard to breathe when death got his hands on your shoulder, stealing from you the way it do. And I hold her hand as tight as I could. She say, you can't hold me like that. Acting like it'd be time for us to quit. 29 years ain't made me tired of you. And we got to raise these chillins and plant some corn in the spring. But I don't think it would have stopped that water. Angry Gulf season with too much yeast rising King Kong and beating itself against cars and trees and family. And it just kept a knocking and a knocking. And it follow our breath and our fear up on the roof. See, storms got a way of inviting themselves in your life, bring buckets of heartache, can't nobody lift off of your chest. But God, no, sir, I ain't doing good. Houston just split in half. And I'm up to my waist in kids and grandkids. And I hold her hand as tight as I could. She say, you can't hold me like that. But I'm as strong as when I met you. And we didn't fought worse than this here before. You remember when I was hit by a train, they thought I was going to die, but I didn't. And every morning now, and whenever I lay me down to sleep, I wants to drown future sleep because my love been flooded out of my belly. Yes, sir, them water just walk up in here and divide our family. But before it went, she whispered Mississippi echo, the kind heard on cable news networks and crowded rooftops. Makes me swear to raise the chillins chillin'. And peace and stranded me here with silence, y'all. And I cry. And I miss the comfort of skin. And I'm lonely. They can't find her body. She gone. She gone. That's all I had. That's all I had.
Oh my God, yeah. Oh my God, that's how I feel about my neighborhood. I feel that's all I had. That's all. It's gone.
She gone.
It's gone.
Yeah.
It's gone. But I have faith that Los Angeles will continue on and on. My family's been here since 1890, and I plan on being here, at least to 2090. 2090. I'd be very lucky if I got to that age, but we'll see.
Well, look out for my CD.
Yeah,
it's going to be dropping April 1st. I'm going to have a video. CDs dropping. It'll be on iTunes, Amazon, Spotify, Reverb Nation, all that good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Look for me.
And are you going to have like a little?
I'll have a listening party sometime in April. Will be coming up, but be on the lookout. Be on the lookout.
I will definitely be on the lookout. And the World Stage every Wednesday.
Every Wednesday night, 7:30.
7:30.
The Anansi Writers Workshop.
Yes, and I've known about that since I guess in at least early aughts. I mean, I know it's been going on longer than that, but I'm saying I've been going there, not like every single time, but yeah, because I can't lie because he's been there, so been there several times. But thank you so much, Coney Williams, for joining us here. And we're gonna have an exciting show next week. We're gonna have Anna Urena and Bob Bryan, who is a filmmaker. And he actually did a video on Wanda Coleman. That's pretty exciting.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yes.
So hopefully, I will see you at the Long Beach Zine Fest. You're having a great time at the LA Writers Conference. The LA Times Festival of Books is coming up on the 18th and 19th. It's kind of really far away, but and April 11th, I am doing a live Zora Neale Hurston reading. So if you're interested in your venue hosting like an hour of the streaming or reading yourself, please let me know. You know how to get in contact with me. Hashtag Black Grrrl. You could find me on Facebook or all that good stuff. And remember, 3 p.m. on LA Talk Live every Saturday. And Live 360, iTunes R&B, Ustream TV, and the Stitcher app. That's what it's called, the Stitcher app. So I will talk to you soon, and thank you so much, Richard, the engineer. You did a great job, as always, and I appreciate that. So, signing out, and hopefully I'll see you next Saturday.
They say I'm different 'cause I'm a piece of sugar cane. Sweet to the core, that's right, I got a rhythm. My great-grandma didn't like the foxtrot. Now instead she spit it's nothing boogie dram on dram. Spit on. They say I'm different 'cause I eat chitlins. I can't help it, I was born and raised on them. That's right, every morning after slop the hogs and maybe getting off, humping the Johnny Hooker. Get it on. They say I'm different 'cause I'm a piece of sugar cane. And when I kick my legs, I got rhythm. My great-grandpa was a blues lover, but he be rocking his moonshine to Baby King and Jimmy Ray. Rock on that. And that's why they say I'm different. And that's why they say I'm strange. I'm talking about Big Mama Pump. I'm talking about Lightning Hopkins. I'm talking about Howlin' Wolf.
Talk Live Broadcast Network, original reality radio, and crafted for your listening and viewing pleasure. This is LA Talk Live, and we are more than just talk. Stay tuned.